Greetings everyone and welcome back to Pony Panels. As we do here, moral first. What's the issue? The 63rd main comics issue, which is a simple one-off. That's why we're doing it here. The main moral of the story is about having things in moderation, knowing when something is too much. Setting limits and boundaries. This comic is basically a comic based around the wants and desires and needs to eat healthy, and that we should all desire to do so. Good moral for kids, but there's also some deeper, more adult things implied here. Mainly, how being dedicated for something and driven for something is nice, so much that you're willing to fight for it. But never, even if you believe in a message or two, never try to overly force your message or drive your message towards others. It's okay to protest. In fact, it's a good thing. But when you try to force your way of living and your way of thinking how life should be lived upon other people without even knowing the ramifications of the damage, it can be just as, if not more, damaging than what you're trying to rally against. Heck knows, in this social networking climate where we're in constant debate over things of how this country or ways to be run, this is becoming a more frequent and more talked about topic. But knowing moderation and knowing when you're going too far is key to anything in life, not just healthy eating. Know your limits, know your room, and know when too far is too far, and you can wind up too being equally successful and living what the comic is trying to express. Living a happy life, which that's what we should all strive for. But why bring this up? Well, the story of this comic is based around a simple day in Ponyville. Our intrepid Harmony 6 are hanging out at Sugar Cube Corner. Sugar Cube is selling well, as usual, led by the Cake family and, of course, Pinky. But when a new pony and our anti-sugar league named Temperance, which is funny because the name Temperance is also a key name for having a balanced temper, comes in sword a-blazing, literally, into Sugar Cube Corner, demanding that all sugar be banned. This is of course horrible to hear from the Cake's point of view, and Pinky especially, who's willing to fight to keep the sugar alive and going. And at first, the people of Ponyville seem to also believe in the leave our sugar alone sentiment. But soon thereafter, thanks to Temperance's words and partially her bullying tactics, the people of Ponyville seem to be drifting over to Temperance's side. The only one that seems to not believe it primarily is Twilight, who, from witnessing the brandishing the vandalism and the near assault of herself by sword, and the entire thing going awry, I tends to hope that everybody will be reasonable in this situation and come to a compromise. But, Twilight, honey, this is Ponyville. Everything's got to go to the extremes before solutions happen. So much so that a sugar-bition is put into Ponyville. And just like prohibition in the 1920s when alcohol was outlawed in the U.S., yes, that's my bring about to real life. You see, alcohol was protested by an anti-alcohol league back in the 1920s, saying that it was the fall of civilization and partially one of the reasons that America was doing so badly. So much so that prohibition was passed. But just like in the comic, not every pony was down with that. And led by the Apple family of all things, they and the cakes have become, to borrow a term, sugar shiners. Never thought I'd say that on this channel, ever. When Twilight sees the result of Sugar on Outlaw, as Rainbow Dash and the others are throwing sugar-based parties, which, yes, this happened in Prohibition as well. Well, she is disgusted by what she sees, as she sees everybody gorging on everything sugar-based, trying to keep the sugar alive, much like Prohibition. Making it outlawed makes it more demanded, which is the same thing that many people that have medical marijuana as a thing they need to cure pains and other ailments make the case for marijuana to be legal. It would lower the demand and not make it so hip for people to smoke it, which is a true point. That's why Prohibition was quickly outlawed, even though there are still illegal moonshiners to this day. But after seeing the anti-sugar-bition party, Twilight's had enough. And we learned that temperance was denied sugar based on temptation. Now, temptation is something that most people with obesity, well, anybody that has a favorite vice can run into. Temptation to fall into our vices can be very difficult. Our family never taught temperance, moderation, or that there are right times and wrong times for even things that we are tempted to have. It is the notion that we control our vices and make sure that our vices don't overcome us that is key. We can enjoy the finer things in life, sugar and other sweets, and even other things that have been prone to be done a little bit too much. But It's our own power and the power of our friends to learn to control these vices and find a balance between the things that we need to keep our lives happy, healthy, and spiritually wise, and the things that could, if done a little bit too much, harm us at the end of the day. Temperance learns the lesson, learns to enjoy sugar, and everything is brought back to normal. But, as well as you might think that I might have enjoyed this comic, especially for lessons towards kids and even the obese, and the callbacks to prohibition and illegal moonshiners, the way this message is delivered, however, is a bit towing the line. Temperance's approach to getting everybody anti-sugar is way too aggressive and does not show the proper and most importantly orderly way of protesting. It shows an overly aggressive and overdriven nature, not only from the protesters, but from our intrepid sugar shiners of Ponyville, going way too far, showing both ends of the extreme in the worst possible way, especially from the sugar shine point of view, making the idea of eating sugar till you drop almost like a fun, enjoyable activity, which is completely contradictory to the moral at hand. It's just poorly done. But that's not to say temperance's vandalism, overly yelly, preachy, and aggressive approach is good either. In fact, in most other situations, this aggressive form of protest that borderlines on violence would be considered illegal in most places. Although the moral message is a great one, the way they show it in this comic almost contradicts both the messages of successful and peaceful protest and its anti-obesity and health message by showing people being happy around sugar way too much, even though it's a frame. Yes, all the characters ultimately pay the price with Sugar Crash, but by then the damage has been done. Although this comic, much like Temperance, came from a place of moral and spiritually right, the execution was done wrong. It's nice to see a one-off slice of life with strong moral backing, but of course, execution and deliverance and portrayal of that moral is important. And sadly, this comic fails at it. That's why, unfortunately, I'm going to have to give this comic, despite its positive message, only a 2 out of 6. Although the drawing and animation and the moral is a strong one, the execution of that moral in some of the ways that it goes about it is done way over the edge, especially when it contradicts the very messages that it's trying to purvey. The prohibition references brings a nice little historical and real life connection to the piece and making it kid friendly by using sugar rather than alcohol. But sometimes even things that we fight for in positivity sometimes don't work out the way we want them to. Just like this comic did. So, tell me your thoughts on main comic number 63 for the Friendship is Magic comic series, and where you would side in the debate. Plus, make sure to use the bell, hit the subscribe button for more My Little Pony laced content, and yes, Season 8 is coming, and we will cover it all, including the continuing comic lines. So until next time, I'm Nirvana Sparkle. Find peace in your own Nirvana. And please have something sweet, but remember, limitations.